This is probably the first African in history to have been publicly humiliated in Paris during the liberation ceremony in 1944, and the scene was immortalized by French photographers. But now the question becomes, who was this man and what exactly was he doing there in the first place? Well, allow me to introduce you to the one and only, one of the forgotten African heroes whom the pages of history tried to erase, like the crucial role played by African soldiers in Africa during World War. Anyways, this is George Duxon, or Georges Duxon, a Gabonese man who was also known as Le Lion Noir, meaning the Black Lion, for his bravery in the battlefield and the significant role he played in the liberation of the city of Paris, where he relentlessly fought the Germans. Now, in 1939, probably inspired by his father who fought the First World War, just at 17, he joined the army and fought alongside the French to free France from Germany. But ironically, his country Gabon and the majority of African soldiers who fought for La France to free them from Germany, their own countries were occupied through colonization by the same France. Maybe African soldiers thought that if they helped France to be freed from its German cousins, the French would be grateful and leave Gabon and other African countries it occupied. Then again, that is just my speculations. Anyways, a year later, Georges became a war prisoner under Nazi Germany's care. However, after 3 years in experiencing German hospitality, he returned to France. And in August 25, 1944, they regained control of the city of Paris. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The following day, the French General de Gaulle was victoriously parading les Champs-Élysées, greetings and receiving praise from other French people while surrounded by other French generals from the resistance. And out of nowhere, George, the Black Lion who relentlessly fought the Germans, also appeared in the crowd. I mean, why not? Why not? Because they fought and they won the battles together. So he invited himself to the party to march proudly and walked alongside the General de Gaulle, whom apparently he admired. However, things did not go as he had planned. Georges was publicly humiliated and physically removed from the parade like a nobody, as if he didn't do anything for France. And it's also because he did not fit the narrative that was being drawn. It's like African soldiers' physical presence in public places after the war became like a black stain on a white sheet in the eyes of the French elite and France's consciousness. And I suppose it's because of the realization that history will always remember that France needed Africans, amongst others, to help them fight Germany. It was like a rude awakening. So after the war, African soldiers were quickly sent back to the continent, with many soldiers not being paid, which led to something I spoke about, the Tiaroy massacres. And history was retouched and all the cast had European features, and African soldiers were nowhere to be found in parades, movies, or history books, as if they never existed. Unless you dig deep, you'd never know that African soldiers and Africa participated in the fight against Nazi Germany by providing troops as well as logistics to the French resistance, who had a headquarters in Africa. You see, African soldiers after the war were thanked the way some hunters thank their dogs after catching a prey. The hunters will eat the meaty parts and give their dogs bones. But back to the story. As a result of that humiliating incident, Georges was no longer a soldier, meaning he returned to the civilian life and began committing petty crimes just to survive. But one day he was arrested he was arrested for theft by French soldiers, the same troops he served. And while being transported to prison, he attempted to escape and was shot and succumbed to his injuries, and the man was only 22 years old when he died.
We, ni nini?